I can't even fathom anything like this having been found before in the West Wing, and I go back to the 70s at the White House.
Welcome to this week's Wacky Moments of Leftist Extremism. Well, things kicked off on a high note this week at the White House as cocaine was found inside the building. Now, despite the common knowledge of a very well-known drug addict who has made some questionable life decisions and frequently visits the structure, none of the big three networks could even utter the words Hunter Biden in their coverage.
A surprising discovery inside the White House. The Secret Service now confirms a small amount of cocaine was found inside the West Wing.
Who brought that illegal drug inside? But officials caution this could be a challenging investigation.
Kelly, what are the expectations the Secret Service will be able to find the individual responsible?
Well, Lester, officials are tamping down expectations. Unless forensic evidence is found, like DNA, they say they may not be able to solve this.
We may never know who it was, but the leftist media has to float many ideas. It could have been a visitor.
This was found, we understand, in a highly trafficked common area of the West Wing. It's an area where individuals, especially visitors, individuals who may be coming for instance, a private tour.
MSNBC just can't fathom that someone would have drugs in the Biden White House.
This is so unusual. You and I have covered the White House for years. I can't even fathom anything like this having been found before in the West Wing, and I go back to the 70s at the White House.
Who could be near these offices without being searched? Who could have left the baggie there? Well, here's an update. It's likely not a visitor.
It's down near the Situation Room, right off West Executive, down below. And normal people, average people just can't get in there, even with the entry from the Northwest Gate.
Could we possibly mention a certain someone who in the past has confessed to drug abuse? I mean, he does have a tradition of forgetting where he places things, so a little baggy, I mean, that's pretty forgettable.
No idea.
So could have been yours.
Of course, certainly. Not that I remember at all. At all. So, we'll see.
Nah, never mention that.
And we should note, I mean, clearly they know everyone who goes into that building. It is a known quantity.
The White House snow job was continued by spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre, who deflected all questions about the cocaine.
Let's get to the bottom of what happened here.
Well, I just said that we have confidence that the Secret Service is going to get to the bottom of this.
So the president has been briefed on the cocaine that was found at the White House. Is the White House conducting its own internal investigation?
This is something that's under the purview of the Secret Service.
I'm wondering if just generally if there's concerns about the ability for someone to...
So let's let the Secret Service do their investigation.
Just clarify for us, where exactly inside the West Wing the substance was discovered?
I'm not going to get into specifics.
No answers. In fact, the very transparent Biden administration really doesn't like to answer any questions, especially those that deal with Hunter.
There was a story in the New York Times over the weekend about Hunter Biden's daughter in Arkansas. Does the president acknowledge this little girl as his granddaughter?
I don't have anything to share from here.
A recent MRC study shows that when it comes to any and all Biden scandals, only about 2% of the questions are actually answered by Jean-Pierre.
Cannot speak to the president's mindset. That's not something that I'm going to speak from the podium. I'm just not going to get into it. That's not something I can comment from here. Just not going to comment from here. I don't even know so I can't speak to it from here because I just don't know what you're speaking to. And so again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office. Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office. And I just said to you, the White House counsel's office, I would refer you to the White House counsel.
Busier than Biden's lawyers was the media hiding facts this week. Authorities in Philadelphia announced that the suspect behind a Monday mass shooting was Kim Brady Carricker, a man who sometimes pretends to be a woman, who was gay, who may have also been transgender. The media simply ignore all of that and how it may have played into his mental state. Instead, they prefer to push their agenda.
New information this morning out of Philadelphia on that mass shooting that left 5 people dead. We're learning more now about the ghost guns used in the attack.
So the city of Philadelphia has actually filed a lawsuit they say has been in the works for quite some time, targeting the manufacturers of these ghost guns.
Both ABC's Good Morning America and NBC's Today continued to ignore the cross-dressing and celebrated the liberal Philly district attorney targeting 2 gun parts manufacturers with lawsuits. That's despite both companies selling a perfectly legal product.
The city filed a lawsuit yesterday against 2 major manufacturers of illegal ghost guns.
Except the parts sold by those companies are illegal and special milling equipment is needed to finish the build of a gun, but MBC just can't stop lying.
The city filed a lawsuit yesterday against 2 major manufacturers of illegal ghost guns.
Legally sold parts are now complete illegal ghost guns. It's a new leftist media term. They had a bunch of them this week. When the Alliance Defending Freedom wins a Supreme Court case that the Alphabet Mafia doesn't like, the ADF is no longer a legal group with a focus on religious freedom. It's time for a landscape change.
The landscape here is changing for us. What we're seeing is a mainstreaming of an organization that we used to consider an extremist organization that's been labeled a hate group by advocacy groups.
Heck, the term young women, well, that needs to be changed too.
It always breaks my heart to hear so many stories every day of young menstruators who get their period.
I've never heard young menstruators before. I have heard of young ladies.
On the back it says we're here for everyone who menstruates. And I think especially in this age of transphobia, it really means a lot to us to be proudly a gender inclusive brand.
Gender inclusive as you're rethinking feminine hygiene. No logic needs to be employed. This is CBS we're talking about. That's not all that's being rethought by the leftist media. After the Supreme Court ruled that Joe Biden is not a king after all who can forgive debts by decree, some will have to pay off those college loans that they decided to take out for themselves. Or as the media describes it, the wheels are falling off.
You know, doctors, lawyers who have these huge loans, they will have to start paying them back. And the COVID restrictions are also coming off as well. So the wheels are coming off for people who thought that maybe they'd have a break here.
Just don't give your viewers a break. MSNBC took a moment to redefine Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas as well. And guess what? He's not a black man.
The court's conservative supermajority, 4 white men, 1 white woman, and Justice Clarence Thomas.
They mentioned the whiteness of the other conservative justices.
4 white men, 1 white woman.
And when it comes to the leftist justices, we get
the first black woman to serve on the court, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
And
Justice Sonia Sotomayor, the first Hispanic on the court.
So much for being colorblind. No surprise that they hate the affirmative action decision the Supreme Court made. They love defining and dividing by race.
What this Supreme Court ruling in affirmative action proves is that they're not against affirmative action because they're fine with it for like the well-to-do. What they're against is us. What they don't want is people who look like you and me in elite schools.
Okay, tinfoil hat time there. Reed provided 0 evidence to back up her smear, which of course is nothing new, because smearing those that disagree with the leftist agenda is what MSNBC does best. Jen Psaki claimed this week that the GOP is recruiting Muslim Americans to go after transgender people.
Hear me out here. The GOP is trying to recruit Muslim Americans, a community that makes up less than 2% of the U.S. population, against another tiny marginalized group of Americans, transgender people.
Whoa, okay. Psaki's apparently upset because she wants to go after all the transgender people by herself.
This is the same old GOP playbook. Another cynical ploy to tear at the fabric of our society and damage the idea that out of many, we are one. All because they want so desperately to regain the White House. Coming up, Delegate Danica Rome, the first trans person elected to statewide office in Virginia, shares her personal story and our latest weekend routine.
I'm Eric Shiner for MRC-TV, thanking you for making Wacky Mole part of your weekend routine. Visit the MRC homepage and click on the donation button to keep videos like this one coming. Visit MRCTV.org for the latest in videos, information, and entertainment. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos where you can actually see them. Rumble is the only place that has all of our video content. We'll return next week with another look at leftist media madness.